This November, no matter the outcome, we will elect our 47th chief executive. But first, we're going to take a look back at how the presidents became president. This is your countdown to 47. Next up is the Loyalist and the veto president, Andrew Johnson. Prior to becoming the 17th president, Johnson owned a tailor shop in Greenville, Tennessee. Johnson got involved in local politics, becoming the town's alderman and later its mayor. In 1835, Johnson was elected to the state's House of Representatives, and in 41, he was elected to the state's Senate. However, Johnson's career began to take off with his election to the United States House of Representatives, where he served for a decade until his election to the Tennessee governor's office in 1853. After a 4-year term as governor, Johnson was elected the state's U.S. Senator. It was while Johnson served this term that he was faced with a challenge. His home state of Tennessee became the final one to secede from the Union in June of 1861. Johnson stood with his country, remaining loyal to the United States during the Civil War. In 1862, Johnson resigned from the Senate upon his appointment as the military governor of Tennessee, holding the rank of brigadier general. In 1864, President Lincoln was running for re-election and seeking a national Union ticket. With that goal in mind, the Loyalists seemed the perfect running mate. On March 4, 1865, at the second inauguration of Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson made a speech in the Senate chambers before being sworn in as the 16th Vice President of the United States. Just as soon as he began, it became clear to everyone there that Johnson was intoxicated. His meandering address caused great concern among the senators, so much so that 2 of them called on him to resign. But Vice President Johnson would not resign and would soon occupy the high office for himself. On April 14, 1865, President Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Vice President Johnson visited the wounded president shortly before his death the next morning. Following the death of Abraham Lincoln, Johnson was swiftly sworn in as the 17th President of the United States. President Johnson's time in office would become best known for his quarrels with Republicans in Congress. Throughout his term, Johnson issued amnesty proclamations to any former Confederates who took an oath of allegiance to the United States. He eventually granted a full pardon to anyone who took that oath that was charged with treason in the Civil War. And as Congress passed bills regarding Reconstruction and the civil liberties of newly freed slaves, President Johnson issued veto after veto. The Loyalist would soon establish a new nickname for himself, the Veto President. The rift between the chief executive and Congress grew until 1867, when Johnson dismissed Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, which allegedly violated the Tenure of Office Act. Articles of impeachment were soon introduced against him, and for the first time in the nation's history, the United States House of Representatives voted to impeach. In spring of 1868, Johnson faced trial in the Senate and was acquitted by only 1 vote. He attempted a bid for the Democratic nomination for president in 1868, but was unsuccessful. Andrew Johnson served as President of the United States from 1865 to 1869. I'm Eric George for Valley News Live, and this has been your countdown to 47.